You are listening to Julia's Trucking Cafe News Hour. Welcome to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here and that you want to listen to the trucking news. As always, I have lots of news to get to, so let's get right to it. Our top story, this lady truck driver was beaten to death outside of her truck in Alabama, which you may have heard about. We'll be talking about that later in the show. In this story, GPS leads truck drivers astray once again. City officials are getting in contact with 3 major GPS platforms in an attempt to remove the newly popular route from their maps. Truck drivers looking to avoid a recent toll raise on West Virginia interstate are leaning on their GPS for guidance. But the new GPS-guided route has residents and local police concerned. Of course it does. Trucks cannot be on here, said Lieutenant Jason McDaniel of the newly popular route through Beckley, West Virginia, neighborhood along Pinewood and Holiday Drive. I know. I answer a lot of phone calls from residents that live up there complaining about not only the traffic, the speeding. The trucks are dangerous. They can't travel that road. They don't fit. He continued, adding that the general car traffic alone wasn't designated for that much traffic. Now, with the tolls being raised on the interstate, the semis have started going through there. According to the local news, there are signs posted prohibiting semi-trucks on the neighborhood roads, but drivers have been opting to follow the guidance of their GPS anyways in order to avoid the rising highway tolls. Everyone I pulled over has told me the same thing. I'm just following my GPS. Yeah, Google Maps on your phone that you shouldn't be doing. Officials say that the main GPS culprits are Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze, W-A-Z-E, never heard of it. So they plan to get in contact with those companies to arrange a route change. I'm going to be in the process of trying to get in contact with them to see if they can take this route off their maps, said Beckley Councilman at Large Cody Reedy. And 3 protesters are arrested after causing a 7-mile backup on an Indiana highway. This happened back in August, around August 12th, Kosciuszko, I can never pronounce that right, Indiana. And this happened around 6 p.m. at night where the arrests were made. Indiana State Police arrested 3 men after a protest activity resulted in miles-long backups. According to the news release from the state police, calls started coming in about major backups on US 30 due to protest activity. When they arrived on the scene, they said that a group of protesters were walking along the highway accompanied by 8 support vehicles driving along the highway at walking speed. Troopers spoke to the protest leader, Wisconsin resident Frank Sensabaugh 30, and explained that the protest was creating a dangerous situation that could cause a crash on the 60-mile-an-hour highway. Troopers also invited the protesters to continue walking and driving on the shoulder of the highway, not in the active lanes. However, state police says that purportedly the group failed to comply and continued walking eastbound, with eastbound traffic continuing to back up for approximately 7 miles. Troopers warned the group a second time to stay out of the right lane of traffic. Finally, the troopers had to arrest the 3 of the protesters, Sensabaugh, Eric Ajale 20 of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Tori Lowe of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What are they doing in Indiana? Go up to Wisconsin to protest. What are you 3 doing in Indiana? Starting crap. They were arrested on misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct and obstruction of traffic. Lowe was also charged with resisting arrest. I'll get it right eventually. All 3 men posted bail. Yeah, get your butts back up to Wisconsin where y'all belong. I mean, really? Really. Now for a light side to things, because I know the news have been kind of depressing lately. You know how we all love having pets in our trucks? Well, these pets are a must-see. We all love our furry co-pilots, but some truckers have been breaking the stereotypical cat or dog mold by going with far more unique animals as their companions. All right, so take Daytona, for example, the rabbit. He's owned by Ken C. Daytona runs the show, apparently. Just visit his Instagram page, where Ken portrays Daytona as a cute yet sinister trickster, always looking for an opportunity to one-up his who-man and take over his truck driving duties. View this post on Instagram, that where you see he's on the steering wheel driving. I gotta go pick up snacks. A post shared by Daytona. Is a rabbit still too mundane for you? How about some exotic birds? Parrots, or co-pilots, have been spotted at truck stops far and wide and shared on social media from Pennsylvania to Las Vegas. Their truckers say they are potty trained and actually guard the truck if someone comes near. If you're still looking to take it up a notch, how about a trucking goat? These two were spotted by a user who shared the photos just a few weeks ago. He parked at a rest area. I noticed a guy walking his pig. He then proceeded back to a semi-truck and got that fat little pig into the truck. Last but not least, a video of the trucker with a small pig as a pet went viral, like I was just speaking of, so I kind of skipped around on that article. So if you have a crazy trucking pet, please email me the image and I'll make sure I put it up either on our Facebook page or MeWe page, Parlor, and also put it up on the website as well. So have a little fun to the show, but now we have to get back to the serious side of things. And in this article, a truck driver gets a maximum sentence for a crash that killed 5 on Interstate 70. A Colorado truck driver was sentenced to prison on vehicular homicide charges following a multiple fatality crash that happened in Kansas in 2017. 59-year-old truck driver Kenny Ford was recently sentenced to 5 years in Leavenworth County Jail. The sentence is actually 5 single-year sentences to be served consecutively. Ford previously pled no contest to 5 counts of vehicular homicide earlier in 2020. The fatal crash occurred in July of 2017 near Bonner Springs. Ford reportedly did not slow for traffic on westbound I-70 and hit an SUV and then 2 cars. One of the cars was pinned underneath his truck and caught fire. Teresa Butler, 61, Carolyn Kennedy, 63, Sheldon Cohen, 83, Virginia Cohen, 79, and Ricardo Marilas, 38, all died as a result of the crash. Drugs and alcohol were not a factor, but it isn't clear why Ford didn't stop. That's called distracted driving. You didn't know that? Quote, this is as stiff of a sentence as one could get for a vehicular homicide, which is a slap on the wrist in my eyes. The fact that all 5 are consecutive would probably be one of the toughest you would see, and for good reason, due to the amount of people that died and destruction to the vehicles. The news outlet reports that vehicular homicide is a misdemeanor charge in Kansas, which that needs to be changed, and that 5 years was the maximum penalty. Families of victims also entered into a lawsuit against Daimler Trucks North America for failing to install collision avoidance technology, or the accident idiot-proof shit that we don't listen to anyways, that could have prevented the fatal pileup. No, you don't know that it could have prevented the fatal pileup. You don't know that one iota. I have the stuff in my truck. It doesn't prevent nothing. It's annoying. And it makes the driver lazy. But anyway, on to the next story. Breaking. Remember this guy? Mr. Jim Mullen? Acting administrator that took over Martinez's place? Well, guess what? He's stepping down from his position by the end of the month. He will be heading an agency that is into electric semis. The months that he served as the head of FMCSA, the agency was able to push through a long-awaited hours of service final rule. It was also the agency's helm when they launched the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. And it says I read in another article that even though he's stepping down, they don't really say in this article why he's stepping down, but later on you'll see in the next episode that the reason why he is stepping down. So, stay tuned. And up next, yes, a truck hit this school bus. A truck driver involved in a crash with a school bus helped children before collapsing and dying. A man who was driving a truck that crashed with a bus full of children helped pull several of the children from the bus before he collapsed and died. This happened in Alma, Georgia. Jonathan Greer, 25, was driving a rental truck when the truck rear-ended a school bus that was stopped to let off or take on kids. Following the crash, Greer got out of the truck and began helping pull students from the crumpled school bus. Must have been running on adrenaline and his body gave out, said a Georgia State Patrol. Greer was transported to a local hospital where he then passed away. Cameras on the school bus showed Greer pulling the students from the bus. 10 students on the bus at the time of the crash, and all 10 students sustained injuries, though none of them were life-threatening. School bus driver Jerry Sweat said 6 of the students were taken to the hospital for treatment. We've had other accidents and tragedies and things like that in the past, but this one had you shaken the most out of all of them, said a Bacon County Fire and EMS officer. Authorities estimate that the truck was going between 50 and 60 miles an hour when it slammed into the back of the bus. There again, not paying attention. And this truck driver is sentenced after threatening to shoot up a church. I'm sure you remember that story that happened over the summer. Once arrested, he told officers that he felt like the only solution was to end it all or commit himself to a state hospital. He's sentenced to 2 years in prison after threatening to shoot up a church in Tennessee and kill some people on the street and then kill himself. McVicker will spend 2 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and required mental health care. He will also be required to forfeit all guns and ammunition, and he should be required to forfeit his license too. 39-year-old Thomas Matthew McVicker sent text messages to his friend August of 2019 outlining his plans to hurt himself and others. I also reported on that story. Quote, I was thinking about shooting up a church, but I'm afraid how it will affect my family and the flesh after I'm gone, the messages read. So I think I'm just going to kill some people on the street and get away with it and then kill myself. The friend then reported McVicker and the messages to FBI, who quickly contacted McVicker's mother. She disclosed to the officers that her son was on medication for schizophrenia and owned a Ruger P90 handgun, was living out of his truck, and that he planned to take some time off in Memphis on August 22nd, 2019. 2 days later, the same friend contacted FBI after a phone call with McVicker that he described as erratic, during which McVicker threatened to shoot up a church in Memphis. That friend stated that McVicker was speaking in a frantic manner and told her he intended to take his knife and slit the pastor's throat. Agents then confirmed with McVicker's company that he requested time off and obtained a warrant for his arrest. He was detained on August 16th in Indianapolis while on his way to Memphis. He had the Ruger in his possession as well as 5 magazines, 1 an assisted loader, and 2 full boxes of 50 rounds. He had about 100 rounds of ammunition. Once arrested, he told agents that he never intended to kill others, only commit suicide. Yeah, right. And that he felt like the only solution was to end it all or commit himself to a state hospital. He's also admitted to understanding the difference between right and wrong, listing the possibility for claims of an insanity plea. He pled guilty to sending threatening interstate communications in April, which led to his 2-year prison sentence, 3 years less than the maximum sentence for his crime. Additionally, the judge did not issue the potential $250,000 fine and instead opted for McVicker to pay only for $100 in court costs. And look what the heck happens when you follow your GPS. A semi-truck collapses a rural Missouri, a rural Missouri bridge. Boy, I cannot talk today. Happy Monday that I'm recording this. A semi-truck driver escaped from a dramatic bridge collapse uninjured, according to Missouri State Police. Bridge collapsed near Westphala, Missouri, August 17th, when his truck attempted to cross a one-lane bridge over the Marys River. Luckily, nobody was hurt. The incident is still under investigation. And still, a section of Interstate 70 is shut down, and truckers need to beware. A section of Interstate 70 in Colorado remains shut down in August due to forest fire. Truckers are urged to beware of detours. Police are waiting to hand out tickets to truck drivers who are using prohibited routes. Like I talked about with Glen Canyon on the previous episode, I-70 was closed in both directions to the Grizzly Creek fire. While general motoring public is being detoured through Independence Pass, truckers are warned they are prohibited on that pass. And one of the troopers said they're either illiterate or they just don't care. Certainly they are ignorant about what's waiting for them when they get up on that pass. It's completely irresponsible. The fine for trucks on Independence Pass, like I said, is $1,000 plus the tow bill. FS Road 400, Eagle-Thompsonville Road, was closed due to excessive traffic and accidents resulting from drivers attempting to use this primarily dirt road as an alternate to the I-70 closure. Cottonwood Pass at Garfield and Eagle counties and other rural roads are also closed, according to the local news outlet. At the time of the writing of this article, the fire was 0% contained. And up next, a trooper who helped to stop a disabled truck stumbles upon $5 million worth of wacky tobacco. A Nebraska State Patrol was only attempting to assist a box truck driver with mechanical problems when he wound up discovering thousands of pounds of wacky tobacco, marijuana. The drug bust took place around 1:30 on Saturday, August 15th, near Cozad, Nebraska. According to the State Patrol, a trooper spotted a box truck disabled on the shoulder of eastbound Interstate 80 around mile marker 228 and stopped to offer assistance. However, the trooper soon became suspicious of criminal activity and had the truck towed to the State Patrol office in Lexington for a probable cause search. During that search, they discovered 2,295 pounds of wacky tobacco concealed in boxes that were labeled as electronics and other items. Estimated street value of the seized drugs, $5 million. 33-year-old Arizona-based truck driver Nolan Amando was arrested and charged with possession of marijuana of more than 1 pound, you think? Possession with intent to deliver and no drug tax stamp. He can't claim that it was for medical use and he's going to dispensary because, of course, Uncle Sam's going to tax everything. So, can't get out of that one. And in this next article, let's watch a video of a dump truck getting points for drifting in style. That was pretty cool to watch, huh? He did a really good job on that. And now up next, research predicts 54,000 electric semis on the road by 2025. A recent U.S. study estimates that a large number of electric semi-trucks are expected to hit the road by 2025. The study was conducted by Wood Mackenzie, an energy analyst, and takes into consideration the number of electric trucks on the road today, government's financial support of the transition, local energy transition goals. The study concludes that the electric truck market is expected to grow exponentially over the next 5 years, despite the existence of merely 2,000 electric truck charging stations across the country. So you know that's not going to pan out. Still, the study also estimates that charging facilities could number as many as 48,000 by 2025. Quote, compared to passenger electric vehicles and electric bus penetration levels, the electric truck market is still in its infancy. Medium and heavy-duty vehicles are the second largest contributor to U.S. transportation emissions. No, but much of the emissions reduction efforts thus far have centered on new diesel technologies and hybrids rather than pure electrification, said Kelly McCoy Wood, McKinsey research analyst. Despite seemingly large number of electric trucks, the study estimates soon will enter the trucking industry. Experts say that 54,000 may be a low estimate considering the volume production Tesla is capable of, according to an email leak from Elon Musk. Although Tesla has not yet confirmed whether production of their electric semi-truck has started, Wood McKinsey study estimates that the company will be capable of producing electric semi-trucks at a far faster pace than just 54,000 in 5 years. And in this story, a trucking company says they were charged $18,000 for a wrecker service. A trucking company has filed a complaint after they were allegedly charged more than $18,000 for a tow in Chicago, Illinois. The complaint was filed by Ontario trucking company Roadstar Carrier, Inc. back on August 14th in the Cook County Circuit Court. The complaint names Linwood, Illinois-based VIP Towing and Roadside Assistance, LLC. According to the complaint, the Roadstar truck hit a downed tree branch caused by severe weather while the driver was traveling in the Chicago area. The truck was damaged but remained drivable, and after it was escorted by Chicago police to the delivery location, Roadstar reportedly contacted Volvo dealership M&K Centers for repairs and were told that M&K would provide an escort for the damaged semi to their location. However, according to Roadstar, a VIP employee arrived on the scene and falsely represented himself to the truck driver that his or her company had been retained by Roadstar, allegedly wrongfully inducing the driver to sign a pre-tow agreement. VIP employee then towed the truck to a Chicago lot. When Roadstar contacted VIP about releasing the truck, they were reportedly told that VIP would not release the truck without the payment of $18,573 in towing and storage fees. And you could see a photo of the invoice here that will be in the show notes. Roadstar said they contacted local police for help in getting the truck back but got no response. The complaint alleges that VIP violated Illinois law by misrepresenting themselves to the truck driver and seeks a preliminary injunction against the tow company for the return of the truck, in addition to compensatory and punitive damages sufficient to deter future wrongdoing of this type. An emergency hearing was scheduled on their complaint. I'm looking at the ticket now, and I don't see where it says, how much it is on there. I'm seeing $3,570. I'm not seeing no $18,000 at all. So I don't see that at all. But anyway, in this story, a live French air-to-air missile is found in Florida. And what you see here is two military officers loading it on a flatbed to take it to MacDill Air Force Base. What's the most unique or craziest load that you ever hauled? This week, a live missile was found in Florida and had to be transported via flatbed to a munitions storage facility on MacDill Air Force Base. According to the Military Times magazine, MacDill Air Force Base, located in Tampa, got called out to handle a live French air-to-air missile that had been found. A contractor at Lackland Linder Airport had discovered a guided missile, says MacDill Air Force Base Post. Military Times reported that the missile was found when the contractor was evaluating shipments. While in that process, the contractor discovered an object with questionable markings indicating it may be explosive. A spokesman for the 6th Air Refueling Wing told the Military Times that the team went out and secured the missile. The missile was live but unarmed. They said a live missile is having a gun with a bullet in a chamber but on safety. Someone would have to arm the missile to fire it, which you could do that remotely. The missile was secured and moved to a munition storage facility on MacDill Air Force Base, and I'm sure was then unlived, I guess you would call it. So they helped secure it and everything like that. So look at what you find in the airport. And some sort of confusion in this article leaves a semi-truck wedged beneath an overpass. A truck driver hauling a large dump truck made a slight miscalculation driving through Idaho Falls. This happened August 17th off of Interstate 15. According to the Idaho State Police, a semi-truck hauling a large dump truck entered I-15 from Grandview Drive but got stuck beneath the overpass. There was some sort of confusion on the driver's part on where he was supposed to go when he came through Idaho Falls. The stuck truck caused slow traffic in the area as crews removed the oversized rig, and the travelers were advised to seek alternate routes. Oh, I cannot talk today, so I apologize about this episode. I'm a bit tongue-tied today. And the FMCSA wanted to hear your comments on freight brokerage transparency. FMCSA was seeking public comment on proposed plans to increase transparency in freight broker transactions. This happened August 19th. They are asking for comments on 2 petitions of rulemaking regarding freight broker transactions. The move to request public comment signals that the agency is serious about addressing one of the hot issues in the trucking industry of 2020. One of the petitions put forward by OOIDA, Owner Operator Independent Drivers Association, argued that brokers knowingly sidestepped existing regulations that would allow carriers to view records. In their petition, they request that FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, require brokers to provide an electronic copy of each transaction record automatically within 48 hours after load's been delivered and has been completed, and prohibit explicitly brokers from including any provision in that contract that requires a motor carrier to waive its rights to see that record. The second petition was introduced by Small Business Transportation Coalition, and they request brokers for coercing or otherwise requiring parties transactions to waive their right to review the record, as I just talked about. And up next, a converging dust storm temporarily closed a portion of Interstate 10. A portion of Interstate 10 was closed in Arizona after 2 dust storms back in August converged to create one serious road hazard. That's worse than fog. The incident occurred on August 16th in the greater Phoenix area during a record-breaking heat wave. According to the local news outlet, the city just got done reaching 115 degrees, beating the previous record of 113 degrees. and a thunderstorm formed over the city, developing winds that triggered the two hazardous dust storms. By 6 p.m., a wall of dust could be seen moving south across the city, lowering visibility to zero at the airport. Drivers along I-10 were forced to pull over, and a semi-truck traveling near Picacho Peak was blown over during the dust storm, closing the interstate. Luckily, nobody suffered any injuries. National Weather Service described these storms, also called haboobs, are relatively common in the American Southwest during monsoon season in July through September, but these storms are technically occur anywhere in the U.S. Blinding, choking dust can quickly reduce visibility, causing accidents that may involve chain collisions, creating massive pileups. Dust storms usually last only a few minutes, but the actions a motorist takes during that storm may be the most important one of his or her life. And now let's take a short break. This episode of Julia's Trucking Cafe is brought to you by My Patriot Supply. As truck drivers, we all know what it's like to be at a shipper's or receiver's and have to wait to be loaded for hours on end. Am I right? Especially produce coolers and paper mills. That's why you need to be prepared with extra food in your truck, especially with the bad weather coming in, like it is over here in Kansas, up in the Dakotas and Minnesota. 90 was shut down, Interstate 94 was shut down, along with 29. What are you going to do if there's no food and a truck stop was without power? That's why you need to stay prepared with My Patriot Supply. Now it's not what you're thinking. My Patriot Supply is delicious emergency food. They have food kits that are good up to 25 years. They come in a slimline tote that you can easily store in your food pantry or under your bunk. I can speak from experience. After living through Hurricane Katrina, we were without power for 10 days, me, my mother, son, and I. If it weren't for the MREs that were flown into us, we wouldn't have any food. There was 4 60-foot pine trees that broke in half during that storm and crossed my driveway and landlocked me in. That's when My Patriot Supply would have come in handy. If I knew then what I know now about My Patriot Supply, I definitely have some of this food stockpiled in my pantry. Now, for a limited time, you could get a 1-week supply of food in a handy and neat-looking ammo can, like you see here, for just $39. Look at all that food you get. It's a week's worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinners, just for $39. How do you get it? Where do you go, do you ask? Well, I'll tell you. Just go to my website at juliastruckingcafe.com, click on the Emergency Food Supply tab, scroll down and click on any of the images to find out more information and get yours today. They even offer gluten-free food for under $100. Winter weather is here. What would you do if the interstate was shut down, just like I was talking about? You need to get My Patriot Supply and get it today. Welcome back to Julia's Trucking Cafe. Thank you so much for joining me again. In this story, a car veers into a semi, causes a wiggle wagons to wipe out. A semi-truck driver does a remarkable job of minimizing the damage after a car suddenly swerves at him on a Georgia interstate, causing a major crash. This video was shared by Kirk Bidwell on August 15, 2020. He says that the dash cam clip was captured on August 10th on I-75 near Valdosta, Georgia. And yeah, they can make a mess. You could view the video at Julia's Trucking Cafe. Go to the cafe menu and go under show notes and look for episode 94. And you could see the video, view the video for yourself there. And up next in this story, a truck driver literally jumps in a lake trying to escape a DUI arrest. Truck driver jumped into a lake trying to escape arrest in Tennessee. Incident happened August 13th in DeKalb County. According to Sheriff Patrick Ray, received reports of an alleged drunk driver along Highway 70 East and headed over to investigate it. When he arrived, he witnessed a white semi-truck crossing the right shoulder of the highway, nearly striking several road signs and mailboxes before returning into the lane. When he pulled him over, was met by the smell of alcohol and marijuana. The driver, 35-year-old Christopher Paul Ashlock, was reported to have bloodshot eyes. He submitted to a field sobriety test but performed poorly and was soon placed under arrest. After being arrested and placed in the back of the patrol car with his hands cuffed behind his back, he somehow managed to open the door and get the hell out of the car and take off, eventually jumping into the Cedar Hill Lake near Sligo Marina in an attempt to swim away. How can you swim with your hands handcuffed behind your back? Talk about, doing a backstroke. Shortly after Ashlock's escape, officers were able to board a boat and catch up with him, bringing him back into custody and booking him. Being charged with driving under the influence, escape, and resisting a stop, frisk, halt, or arrest, and being held on $8,500 bond. And he's scheduled to appear in court September 3rd. And in this story, 2 trucks are stolen from the same Louisiana truck stop. A $1,000 reward is being offered for anyone who supplies officers with information leading to the arrest of the criminals who stole the trucks. Police are investigating the theft of 2 semi-trucks in Louisiana. This happened around August 10th. A 2014 Peterbilt was stolen from a truck stop, along with a 100 block of the A 2014 Peterbilt was stolen from a truck stop along the 100 block of the frontage road in Doosan, Louisiana. The tractor reads Daily Trucks LLC and was hooked up to a black flatbed trailer. Both the tractor and the trailer were missing. Security footage shows 2 suspects, one white, only black, and a Dodge Ram dually trucks. Second stolen rig was taken from the same location by a team of 4 people in a light-colored BMW. The tractor was discovered by police a short time later, but the flatbed Fontaine brand trailer with tubing loaded on the back are still missing. Police are asking the public for any information on the robberies and urge police to call Acadia Parish Crime Stoppers at 337-789-8477. That's 337-789-8477. A $1,000 reward is being offered to anyone who supplies officers with the information leading to the arrest of these guys stealing trucks and the freight. And truck driver background and drug test company launches virus screening service. Company that provides the trucking companies with driver background checks and drug testing announced the launch of virus testing service. On August 19th, HireRight announced that they would provide virus testing to trucking companies in the U.S. as a part of the drug and health screening services. Using the HireRight platform, employers will now be able to order the virus antigen test for driver employee. HireRight test uses saliva rather than a nasal swab to detect the presence of the virus and can be self-administered in an employee's home. Yeah, like they're going to use it. They'll take their kids' saliva. The sample is then mailed to a lab using prepaid postage. The results of the test are shared with both the trucking company and the employee. June 17, 2020, the EEOC ruled that employers are not allowed to require mandatory testing on employees as a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. However, antigen testing for active cases of the virus, like the ones now offered by HireRight, are allowed. And boy, did these folks get into a heck of a pickle. That truck, the 2 things that you see the wheels, if you're looking at the picture, the left-hand side are how it's laid over, and that's the whole undercarriage of the truck that you see there. A truck driver and their passenger escaped unharmed after a drowsy driving incident happened August 19th. Approximately 1:30 in the morning in California. According to the local news outfit, the semi-truck was traveling along Old Lake and Lake Hughes roads near I-5 when the driver reportedly fell asleep, causing the rig to overturn. When the emergency crews arrived, they discovered a small patch of grass had caught fire as a result of the crash and quickly put it out. Luckily, both the truck driver and their passenger were able to escape the overturned rig on their own, apparently uninjured. The truck was hauling 40,000 pounds of dog food at the time of the crash. And this dash cam footage puts you behind the wheel of a truck blown over by a terrifying storm. Florida Highway Patrol shared a dash cam video captured inside of a box truck that was blown over during a possible tornado. This happened August 18th in DeLand, Florida. So you can also view this video in the show notes that you'll find on the website at juliastruckandcafe.com under the cafe menu, and go to show notes. And this will be episode 94. And a trucker is killed and a woman is ejected after a semi strikes a bridge support. Indiana State Police have confirmed that a truck driver lost his life at a crash on I-69 on Thursday morning, which will be around the 19th of August. The crash occurred near mile marker 273 on I-69 in Indiana. Authorities say that a semi-truck traveling northbound on the interstate struck a bridge support in the median and then caught fire. You could see the bridge support behind the flames. No other vehicles were involved in the crash. Troopers have confirmed that the driver of the truck lost his life. He passed away. A woman who was believed to have been in the sleeper when the crash occurred was ejected and then taken to the hospital in critical condition. At the time, the cause of the crash was under investigation. So may that driver rest in peace, and our sincere condolences to his family. And a truck driver's attempt to avoid one collision leads to another serious crash. A semi-truck's attempt to avoid a collision with a stopped car led to the death of another motorist in California. This happened Wednesday, August 19th in Fresno County along Highway 180. The Highway Patrol reports that the semi was traveling along Highway 180 near Chateau Fresno Avenue when he suddenly noticed a car stopped in the middle of the road, waiting to make a left turn. At the time, the driver was unable to stop in time, so he swerved into the lane of oncoming traffic and collided head-on with an SUV. The collision killed a female passenger and sent the male driver to the hospital with serious injuries. The truck driver was uninjured in the incident. Officers say that the stopped vehicle had been sitting waiting to make a left turn for a while, but that the truck driver did not notice it in time. There again, inattentive driving. Police do not suspect that the truck driver was under the influence at the time of the wreck and say that he's fully cooperating with the investigation. That's your best bet. And some more news out of Colorado. Their DOT releases road closure detour info as the wildfires rage through the state. And you could check this out. I'm going to kind of skim over this article. You could check this out again at juliastruckandcafe.com and cafe menu and the show notes for episode 94 under the California DOT releases road closure article. Kind of just skim over that kind of quickly. And look what was left on the side of the road. Troopers say they're trying to find the truck driver who abandoned a military vehicle on Interstate 80. Well, you know, I got a problem with this article because did they ever think that the truck might have broke down? Because it really looks like they have triangles out, as you can see in this photo. That, you know, the truck may have broke down and they had to get it towed and they couldn't take the tank with them. So the Nebraska State Patrol were working with military officials to try to locate a truck driver who apparently abandoned a military vehicle that was bound for South Dakota. The military vehicle was found by a trooper on the morning of Thursday, August 20th. According to the State Patrol, the vehicle was sitting on a parked trailer on Interstate 80 on-ramp near Overton, Nebraska. Trooper noticed that the vehicle had markings that identified it as belonging to South Dakota National Guard. They later learned that the military vehicle was abandoned sometime the day before by the driver of a trucking company contracted to move the vehicle for the Guard. The vehicle was en route for a training mission in California back to South Dakota when it was abandoned. Troopers are working with the South Dakota National Guard to return the vehicle to South Dakota, as well as locate the driver who abandoned the trailer and the military vehicle. There again, truck could have broke down. You know, doesn't necessarily mean that he abandoned it. That's what I don't get. Well, I don't know all of the facts of the story either, so I'm just saying from what I know. Now, you may have heard, you know, because there again, I'm always playing catch up. I'm trying to do the videos to coincide with the episodes that I am on time with, for the most part. So that's why I'm always running late with these videos, so I do apologize. But in this story, if you heard about the lady driver that got killed in Alabama on the side of the interstate, this is that story. Female truckers found dead on interstate near her semi was murdered. Authorities are investigating the death of a lady driver who was found on Alabama interstate near her truck as a homicide. Her body was discovered around 3:30 in the morning on Wednesday, August 19th at mile marker 118 on I-59 and 20 in the Birmingham area. Truck driver Ozell Johnson was on his way to deliver a load to the Mercedes plant when he saw another semi-truck on the side of the road and noticed a woman lying on the ground near it. He stopped to find out if she was okay, but soon called 911 after finding her body in blood and unresponsive. Johnson said that the woman's truck was locked and that he believed at the time she might have fallen off the catwalk. He said that the woman had the truck key and a flashlight near her when he found her. Multiple law enforcement agencies responded, including the Highway Patrol and Alabama State Bureau of Investigation, kind of like a state FBI. On Thursday, they identified her as 53-year-old Alabama resident Christine Luttrell Summers. Authorities say that her death is being investigated as a homicide, and no arrests have been made. And rest in peace, Christine. And state police cancel patrol academy due to lack of funding. There'll be fewer officers on the road in Minnesota due to lack of funding. Minnesota State Patrol announced that it canceled its annual police academy training due to lack of funding. Quote, the decision, which will effectively thin the ranks of the state law enforcement agency by several dozen, is the second noteworthy cut in state services resulting from looming state budget shortfalls courtesy of the virus pandemic and its resulting hammer on the economy and state tax revenues. There again, this happened back in August. Minnesota State Patrol, approximately 600 troopers on average. Approximately 35 troopers are expected to leave this year. An additional 35 are expected to leave next year. 15 to 17 week academy costs between $4.5 million and $5.5 million. The State Patrol can't afford that. Given the current financial projections, they foresee a $2.4 million hole in the current 2-year statewide budget and $4.7 billion, it's $2.4 billion hole and $4.7 billion hole for the following 2 years. Without the 2021 academy, the State Patrol will need additional funds to offer a larger than normal academy in 2022 in order to fill all the vacant positions. So if you're wanting to go for a cop, move to Minnesota. They need you. According to their spokesman, Bruce Gordon, it is their hope that the legislature will provide this funding to ensure we have the necessary troopers on Minnesota roads. In addition, the lack of new officers will likely put a strain on the current police force and would require current police to work more hours to provide coverage for the officers who have left the force, creating a greater need for more payroll funding. And this article is a little bit lengthy, so I'll let you go over it in the show notes. And let's watch closing. Let's see. One second. Closing of the show, excuse me. Let's watch a video of how pups help this trucker strap down his load. A few hardworking dogs are on hand to help out with strapping down a load of hay. While the pups are definitely enthusiastic about tugging the straps, the driver throwing them admitted that most of the time it's just for show. It's pretty helpful when the weather isn't cooperating. Otherwise, it's a novelty trick, he said. So let's go ahead and watch that video. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you who tune in to listen to me each week here on the cafe. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe using the link below, or on CloudHub, please subscribe at the top of the page. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. As I said, please, if you wouldn't mind, stop in if you're on Facebook and give us a like on Facebook. Also join our discussion group at Julia's Truckin' Cafe Regulars. And if you wouldn't mind, subscribing to our newsletter at juliastruckincafe.com/newsletter. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time. You have been listening to Julia's Truckin' Cafe Truckin' News Hour. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Take care. Have a blessed day.